Thank you so much to Circa for such a brilliant, thrilling show. Thank you. Much respect for all the hard work you do on there. And I want to give much thanks also to Pam Tadji and Kimberley Chan for bringing Circa here so we could see them. I'm Katherine Profeta. I'm the Scholar-in-Residence here this week, and I'm going to introduce to you on the end is Nathan Boyle, who's the tour director right now, but has also performed for 9 years, I think, with Circa. And next coming towards me is Lachlan Sukroo and Kimberley Rossi, who you both saw just a moment ago on stage. So what we're going to do now, we have about 20 minutes. For the first 10 or so, I'll seed the conversation with a few questions to these folks on stage. We'll talk for just a bit, and then about halfway through, we'll turn it over to you all, so you can start thinking of your questions now for the performers. But I will start just by asking, I know you three weren't in the ensemble that created this show, but I would love to know what it felt like to learn this show and get it into your bodies and to think about your animal nature, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a reasonably challenging show for us to learn. The sort of choreography is precise, but needs you to be able to perform it with abandon. So to be able to get the precision and hit the beats and sort of learn a show that someone else has made, but also then be able to perform it and let yourself sort of release into it, that balance is quite difficult. Sometimes we'll get the notes of Nathan like, oh, it's getting a bit loose and, you know, we're sort of missing beats and things. And sometimes we'll get it was good and clean, but it was kind of boring. So I guess that balance is kind of tricky for us because we're trying to inhabit a show that someone else has made.
Anything else? I think that, you know, that opposition between, well, precise but animalistic at the same time, yeah, that's tricky, right?
Yeah, it's in this show, because you are an animal, a wolf, your wolf has a personality. So when we were watching and learning, you could really clearly see the other ensemble's personality in their wolf. And it was kind of difficult to not just copy and kind of come up with your own. I think it took maybe the first week of performances for us to kind of be like, oh, no, I actually don't look like that wolf. This is my wolf. Yeah. So. Yeah.
And like when we watch it so much, it's really obvious to see when it's not actually like heartfelt or genuine to them. Like it's, yeah, like Kim was saying, if you copy someone, you can really see that that's not actually you. So it's kind of interesting, and it's been a journey watching them discover their wolves and kind of, yeah, let them out.
Fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit more about how Circa works generating a show in general? I'm super curious about the sort of collaborative way you go about it and how this stuff comes about.
I'll do a quick little one. Yaron Lifschitz, the artistic director of the company, is like, I'm sure I'm just going to say it and you're going to like roll your eyes, but he's ingrained in always telling us that he is a piece of sand, and he is the sand that agitates the oyster to create a pearl. So his job is to like agitate you all to make something beautiful. And I think that's pretty accurate, because when you get into a rehearsal room with Yaron, he will push you and keep pushing you to make you like make something. And it's one of those ones where you kind of have to really go with it, because if you like have any kind of hesitation or you're worried about how it looks, it just like becomes a really hard process. But if you kind of throw yourself to it, give yourself into it, it really is kind of fun and interesting. And all the shows are Yaron Lifschitz and the Circa Ensemble, so these guys actually have a lot of input into what actually goes into the shows and how the shows kind of are shaped and formed, but they can give you some more.
Yeah, I sort of use the analogy that Yaron's a bit the architect, and then we're the sort of builders. He gives us a starting point, and then we'll try and create the piece, and then he'll adjust it and do it as we need. So not everything that he tells us to do and we make is good, and he'll say, okay, Lachlan and Kim, each of you make a wolf doing a forward roll, and then we'll go and do that. And he might say, okay, that was an awesome idea and we've nailed it. Or he might say, Lachlan, do it a little bit more like Kim's, go quicker at the start and then slow. Or he might say, actually, that's a terrible idea. Or he might say, you know, he'll adjust it to then suit the thing. He might then put us together or put us apart, and then we'll find out how that goes. So It's sort of like he gives us the blocks and then we sort of build something and then show him, and he'll come back and then sort of swirl it and carve it into something else.
Yeah, sometimes the shows, making a show, he'll have a very clear concept. So, wolf, you're a wolf. That's it. But other shows are like Humans and the Humans 2.0 shows. He will see a piece of art, show it to us, and go, interpret this in acrobatics. Or it's been like a song lyric or a colour. It can be kind of anything, and we just work at it until it kind of looks like his vision.
And he's pretty known for also like rapid prototyping something. So he'll kind of throw something at them. They'll give it a try. He'll kind of go, yeah, let's like put that in the back pocket. And then like, okay, that's that scene. Let's move into the next one before we've even kind of got an idea. And then by the end of the week or the day, like we've thrown everything back out and started again. So it's like one of these kind of throw everything at it, see what sticks, hold on to it a little bit, then throw it away, come back to it another time. So it's just kind of back and forth.
Yeah. What does it mean to you to have such creative input into the show? I mean, how does that feel? And
I think it's one of the real sort of joys of working at Circa. We make shows very quickly, so it can be hard work, but being able to have that creative input, I think, means that you feel a real sense of ownership of the show, and you then want to strive to make the show better and continue working on it and always make that piece of art sort of as good as you can.
Yeah, it becomes really precious. And then if you've made it and then the show's moved on to another group, you also become really proud when another group of people have come in and you've made something good enough that it translates way later on.
yeah, it translates and evolves, but it's still, yeah, that's gorgeous. I also was super interested in, and I think I wrote this in my program note, what's so obvious to me watching you all on stage is how much trust there has to be for this to work. And today I was sitting in the audience thinking, well, you're really like a multi-celled organism at points, right? Because I wonder if you can just speak a little more about what that feels like from the inside and how this trust is fostered between you all.
We spend a lot of time together. So not just the hours that we spend at work. When we're on tour, we live together, travel together. We are a family. So it's kind of there because of that. But also, how do I word this nicely? When Yaron brings new cast members into the ensemble, it's not just they are a skilled acrobat. They have to meet a certain criteria. Are they good people? Yep.
Yeah, and it's interesting, I think, because we sort of, when we meet a new person, when someone comes into the ensemble, there's sort of a little bit of assumed trust. We don't really spend a lot of time saying, hey, nice to meet you, let's get to know each other. It's sort of like, here's the new person, now start working together. So it's sort of, okay, well, I'll put you up in the too high. That's our sort of first basic interaction with everyone. So we do develop it quite quickly, I think, and I also think that allows us to do it quite deeply because you get a physical sense of who this person is, what they can do, where they are. So we foster that quite quickly.
I mean, there must be also a lot of training in how to take care of each other, and you all know that everybody else on the stage with you has that training.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time sort of building up to always make sure that things are moving and progressing safely. And safety is one of the sort of most important things that we think about. Obviously, if we're missing an acrobat, a show like that becomes so much more difficult because you're trying to do someone else's track as well. And it's something that I think the company really tries to foster. The trick where she actually fell today, the lady fell and we sort of all caught her. Sometimes if we don't have enough spotters or we don't have the right bodies for that, we'll just cut that trick and do a more simplified version. So the sort of safety elements and the progressions and things are all very important to us, and we'll adjust the show in service of that. It's not do it and whatever happens, happens. It's we really make sure that everyone's feeling comfortable and safe, and that also helps to make everyone more calm and you get more safety from it, I think, as well.
I just thought it was so beautiful to watch you all take care of each other, basically, through these very extreme moments. Nathan, do you have anything you want to add about sort of watching this group from the outside and what you're helping them foster as it goes on tour?
yeah, it's been really interesting and been kind of an amazing transition to kind of step behind and go up into the bio box, which is really daunting, because I feel like when I was back on stage with these guys, like I had some sense of control, and like, you know, you're on stage, you're physically there with them, so you can kind of, you know, help control some things. And when you're up there watching it, you're so far away and you literally can't get there on time, or you can't do that. So it's been kind of a weird one for me, but it's been super rewarding watching them then accomplish something that's been quite difficult or kind of unsteady, and watching them just absolutely nail it. So it's been kind of awesome for me, and I've really appreciated and loved seeing that. But yeah, and also the trust that they have in me, like to kind of help shape or help kind of guide them has been awesome. So yeah, that's also really nice.
Fantastic. I think let's open it up to the audience. And what we're going to try to do is going to try to have everybody in the audience be on mic so that you can be captured in the video. We can all hear your questions. So please wait for the mic to come to you if you don't mind. I saw this hand in the center here.
Oh, sorry. I have two questions. First, do your mothers know what you do for a living? Hello? Okay, no, seriously. So I know there's a lot of training and skills and everything that you're doing, and trust, like you spoke about, is key. But you're also human. So what happens when you know that Susie's got a headache, or Sam doesn't feel well, or it's just not their day? I mean, the trust has to come on. You have to perform anyway. Tell us a little bit about what happens when, you know Blase Bly's got a hangover and he's not going to be 100% today.
Yeah, well, just to answer your first question, my mum's definitely just desensitized to it. She tells me now, only invite me to the really good shows. So there's definitely an element of that.
Yeah, one of the things I love about Circa is if you are unwell, injured, no hangover, do not come to work hungover. That's no, we don't do that. But sick, injured, you are under no stress to perform. We are fully capable of remaking a show. I've seen it done in 10 minutes with 9 people instead of 10. So that's one of the things I love about the company, but we have a really open line of communication. So if someone wakes up with a headache in the morning, by 11 a.m., they've let Nathan know, and then we put in procedures to kind of work towards what the show will look that night.
Yeah, and I think in terms of how we accomplish that, the fact that we work as an ensemble means that we are quite able to slot a person out, and we can all take maybe one trick of that person's track, so it's spread amongst us. We do a lot of sort of work of making sure that even though we have the show combos, we'll be training the tricks with different people, with trying different things. We all do a lot of the same sort of performance work, so the languages and things can sit on everybody's bodies, so that if we do need to take someone out, God forbid, we can sort of adjust the show quite quickly and easily. As Kim says, sometimes it happens in the middle of the show, and we're generally pretty able to deal with that.
I see this hand over here on the aisle.
So, speaking as somebody who prides himself on being able to do 8 push-ups, what is it like to have somebody standing on your shoulders or standing on your head, or multiple people standing on your shoulders or standing on your head? How on earth do you manage the physical feats that you do in that show again and again and again? As an individual, I'm fascinated by what you do.
In terms of having people stand on us, we obviously spend lots of time training it. So even though sort of having 2 people on top of us may look very difficult, for us now, I would say that's not sort of the hardest thing we can do. And in a sense, that's sort of a way you do it across the show. You're not necessarily putting in your 100% hardest tricks. You try and put in your sort of 80 to 90% so that you're pushing your boundaries, you're always trying to do it, but you're not sort of performing at the very end of your ability, so that you can do it day after day or do 2 shows a day. And some days it kind of just does suck. Some days, someone will jump off my head and they'll clip my ears and I just, get the burns, but that's why we do all the performance work, so that you can't see it. So, yeah.
I saw another hand right back here, also near the aisle.
Can you tell us about how you develop your costumes? what they need to have and what they need to do, and are they sticky?
The costume designer, Libby McDonald, she has been working with Circa for a very long time, and these guys can talk more about it, but she really knows what the performers need. Each performer has a different body, has a different shape, all that sort of stuff. And the costumes are a form of like lingerie lycra with like a power mesh.
They're definitely not, they're not sticky and they're not slippery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then in this show, like each person had a different like panel or has a different kind of thing, which also helps them identify as a different wolf. But she's always in the room. She's always asking questions. There's been things where like zippers kind of dig into the back of people's necks, so they kind of have cut the zip parts off and attached a cord. The cord sometimes doesn't work very well, and now they have to like get zipped into their costumes by another. What else? But most of the time, it's just like she knows what needs to kind of happen. Most of the time, it's like, oh, if I do trapeze, I know that my elbows need to be covered, so generally she'll design it into a costume, something that's kind of covering their elbows, or it's just like, I do lots of two-high, so I don't particularly want mesh here because mesh is frictiony and will kind of rip up my skin, or you kind of unfortunately get that and your skin gets used to it, but yeah, she's pretty collaborative with that.
It does seem, though, like there are all those practical concerns, but at the same time, she's done a beautiful job giving you all that very specific personality within the same world. I mean, I really appreciate these costumes.
This is my first time seeing Circa, and it's fabulous. But I wonder how you would describe your other repertoire. What's unique, special about this one? What do you miss about the other one that was way better? You know.
In terms of Circa's work in general, the work is to evoke feeling, to make a sort of feeling between us and the audience, to make you feel emotion. We're not trying to tell a sort of linear narrative or anything. It's more about evoking that feeling amongst us and you and our sort of give and take. I think one of the really nice things about Wolf is that even though you've got this sort of instinctive, animalistic personality coming through, it does allow a lot of room for play, and I think that is what makes this one really fun. There are a lot of elements where you're sort of giving and taking between the two performers, and that allows for sort of fresh energy each night.
Yeah, this show for me is really big, bold, loud, even in its quieter parts, which makes me miss some of our smaller shows, like the three-person show we did here a couple of years ago, What Will Have Been, with the violinist. It's a lot more bare, simple and everything, but you kind of love all the shows.
This was absolutely inspiring and incredible. Thank you. What advice do you have for a budding gymnast or an inspired kid who's mortified that I'm asking a question right now?
To not stop stretching. Even as you get older and you may start to lose some flexibility, do not stop stretching. Otherwise, you will lose it.
And I would also just say, you know, the amount of work that it takes and the amount of training that it takes to be sort of up here on this stage, you need to find the things that you love to be able to do, because you just need to keep doing it day after day. You've got to let the people land on your head. You've got to let the people fall and catch them. You know, you've just got to sort of love to do the work, not just the sort of results of it.
Beautiful. I think we have time for one more question.
It was fantastic. I was terrified watching you. And my question is, are you ever afraid?
Yes. I think as an acrobat, it is a very good thing to be afraid. If you were not afraid, yep. A bit of fear is good for this. It keeps you in check.
Other thoughts about fear down the line here?
I think Kim's right in saying that. Like, the fear kind of also grounds you a little bit too. You don't take for granted that your body is valuable. Like, this is their work. If they don't have a healthy body, or if they don't have that, then they kind of can't continue to perform. So it's one of those ones. Fear. It's good, to have it in aspects and tiny bits of it, but it's one of those ones too that it's kind of grounds you, keeps you regular and human.
Yeah, thank you for bringing the humanity on stage to these acrobatics. It's